again this month. This is Neeraj Srivastava. I'm founder here at DLT Labs and inventor of enterprise blockchain. Today we are going to talk about the importance of smart contract in an enterprise. Along with me is Shalan Prabhu, Global Director, Product Strategy here at DLT Labs. Just as a housekeeping rule, you feel free to ping any questions, and at the end of our webinar, we will open it up for any question and answers. Okay, so let's get started. I don't think it will be surprising to anyone hearing that today enterprises across the globe are spending millions, if not billions, in building blockchain-based systems. But when enterprises say they are spending so much on blockchain, in reality, they are spending on designing and building smart contract and not the blockchain itself. Actually, blockchain is the infrastructure required to execute a smart contract. In today's world, it's the smart contract which needs research, development, and investment, and not the blockchain, as its blockchain is already mature. Blockchain is like an operating system which is there. But the question is why? What's so special about smart contract that in coming years businesses can't be done without the help of smart contract, and therefore enterprises are spending and investing so much in it? So let's try to understand what exactly one mean by smart contract and why enterprises need them. Also, let's try to understand why there was no concept of smart contract before blockchain. How is it that when blockchain came into existence, then only this concept of smart contract came into existence? To understand the real benefit of smart contract, let's first understand the word smart contract. Word smart contract consists of two words, smart and contract. Let's now go through the definition of a contract. A contract is an agreement between two or more parties, especially one that is written and enforceable by law. I feel the definition itself is very clear and there's nothing more I can do to explain it. But there are two words which are very important here. The word agreement and enforceable. The word agreement comes from the word agree. Traditionally, signatory of an organization generally signs a contract to prove that organization is agreeing to the terms of the contract. To ensure that over time, it doesn't get hard to prove the execution of a contract, organization uses services like notary services or independent witnesses to prove that the contract was executed fairly. The other part of the contract is enforceable. Once the contract is executed by two or more parties, it's also important to ensure that all the parties are abiding by the terms of the contract. Traditionally, and I think you all will agree, it has been extremely hard to enforce a contract. Most of the time, organizations generally hire third-party auditors to ensure that all the transactions under the contract has been executed under the terms of the contract and there is no breach of contract. But as we all know, hiring an auditor is not only expensive, but extremely time consuming process. For example, in case of Walmart used to have third party auditors to audit all the invoices which they have to pay to the carriers. And that process used to take months and months. And that was the reason why payment to the carriers were delayed. Now let's talk about the smartness in the smart contract. So what's so special there? As we talked before, traditionally it has been extremely hard to execute the agreement as all the parties are generally required to be at the same location to execute it. But many a time it's even hard to prove that the contract was executed without any fraud. I'm pretty sure you will say that in today's world there are solutions like DocuSign and equivalent solution through which you can digitally sign it. But when you sign on those type of solution, it's not immutable. Still, there are a high degree of chance that a fraud can happen. Therefore, when some contract is of really high value, organizations or representative of an organization prefer to be at the same location. They don't rely on those digital signature. Not only that, enforcement of contract is also very hard. Whenever two organizations or enterprises gets into some contract, it's very hard to ensure that whenever they are doing business together, all the terms of the contract is being followed. And this is where smart contract comes to rescue. The smartness in the smart contract can solve all these problems and much more. With the help of smart contract, organization can not just easily agree to the agreement using the immutable property of the blockchain, but at the same time, smart contract can also help to enforce each and every term of the executed contract in real time. And don't mix signing on a blockchain with something equivalent on DocuSign or some similar solution. Those are two different things altogether. Signing on a blockchain is immutable. It's once you did it, it's done. There's a full audit trail. There's no possibility of any fraud, unlike digital signature. And this is what makes smart contract unique and valuable to the enterprises across the globe. If you are thinking that if smart contract is so useful and amazing solution or tool, then why enterprises have not used this concept before blockchain? And the answer is very simple. Without blockchain, implementing smart contract was not at all possible. You need the property of blockchain to implement smart contracts. In the same fashion, cryptocurrency was not possible without blockchain. Similarly, smart contract was not possible before blockchain. Smart contract uses various properties of blockchain like auditability, immutability, trust to not only create an audit trail on who executed the contract and when, but at the same time can ensure that all the terms of the contract are followed each and every time enterprises do transactions with each other. Because of smart contract, in coming years, there will be no more need of notary services, third-party auditors. Smart contract, with the help of blockchain, can solve all these problems, and again, much more than that. There will be no more need of third-party services, and it's already happening all across. To summarize what I've said so far, smart contract is a very important tool now available to enterprises which can help them to do business with each other seamlessly, much faster than ever before. It was not at all possible for two businesses to do business together before the concept of smart contract. But designing and developing smart contract is not easy and is time consuming. And this is where DL Asset Track can help. DL Asset Track allows any business user, again, business user, not the developers, basically, the business user, to not only design and develop smart contract in no time, but also allows them to deploy without any help from the developers. It basically, DL Asset Track allows business user, as long as the business user can work or have knowledge of working on Excel sheet. Now today, with the advanced engine what we have developed as part of the Asset Track, they can build smart contract and can utilize all the benefits of the smartest in the smart contract. And this is what Shalin is going to demonstrate, that how easy it is to build smart contract in the Asset Track and how we did it for Walmart in less than 3 months. On that note, I will pass it on to Shalin.
Perfect. Thank you, Neeraj. And really quickly, we have a question that's been raised, so I'll just read it out for everybody. Smart contracts are written using programming languages like Java, Python, C++, etc., and therefore non-developers may find it challenging to understand. How can DLT Labs ensure non-developers are able to comprehend the functionality and benefits? And this question is basically exactly what you were just asking, explaining, Neeraj, and what I'll demonstrate. So if we can hold off on that in my quick demonstration, I'll talk a little bit about that. But thank you for the question. Before we go into me showing our platform and DL Asset Track specifically, let me walk you through a little bit about the impact for Walmart Canada. Now, what I'm going to demonstrate to you is kind of two kind of applications of it. I'll take a very basic car insurance example, something generic that everyone's pretty much gone through and can understand, and then we'll transition over to Walmart. But as you can see in this diagram, how smart contracts were being used is really that center box, that dark blue box there, which was the utilization of fuel rates, lane charges, accessorials, discounts, load information, taxes, IoT data, contractual data, mileage, and more. But these are the very key ones. And as you can see, there's about 8 different data points in here. And as you can imagine, for the amount of shipments, and as a large organization as Walmart and a lot of the enterprises in this world, there's a whole lot of data there. IoT data alone is just a whole lot of data. And in the previous business cast, what we talked about was data processing. And right now, what we're talking about is data processing through smart contracts, how you utilize this data. IoT data, let's focus on that, is great because you can get temperature sensitive information and pings and extract that data in real time. But what do you do when you have that data to use it to compute it to business needs? My goods are out of a temperature range. I need to take action right away. Is there an implication on invoice? Is there implication on the product? These were all challenges that Walmart was facing. Accessorials was another one. How you compute unexpected costs that happen during a shipment of goods from location A to location B. Well, we use smart contracts, which is both signed off by Walmart and their partner, the carrier, to ensure that the way the platform is interacting is agreed upon and, as Neeraj mentioned, agreed upon between the two parties, so that now everyone's looking at a single focal point of how an invoice is being calculated. And that's really, in this particular demonstration, what we were able to do is help Walmart and the carriers in terms of invoicing and reducing disputes down to less than 1%. So all these elements here that you can see in this dark blue box here are all being used, facilitated through smart contracts. And it's not just to say one smart contract. It gets really complex, and I'll show you that there's many different smart contracts, but all handled through the front end, through no coding, what you can do is construct it, and it's a drag and drop feature, and I'll show you that in a second about how we built these smart contracts, and this is what helped elevate us and move us past the first 90 days and into implementation very quickly. That being said, let me bring up my screen and I will show the platform real quick. So like I mentioned, before we go too in detail, let me start off really quickly. And for everyone who's not seen our platform, there's a whole lot of constructs to it. So I'm not going to go through everything, but really the key way to get to smart contracts is two applications. One is what's called attributes in terms of what we're using to facilitate the smart contract, and that would lead into expressions here. So as you can see, for us, attributes is something that's associated to any asset, whether it's tangible or intangible. The idea is to get to the lowest granular level of an asset that you want to track. For in this example, I'm taking my auto insurance bill. And as you can see, I have, for example, VIN numbers, I can have the date of loss, the date of invoice, everything I can think of, the model, the make, the claim, I want to put into here so that I can basically build a smart contract. So let's do that. So what are the key things when identifying a new insurance claim? One would be your rates, right? And maybe what we can do is say premium. And for this, what I'm going to do is just quickly put in a value here. So let's put in a text box. I'm going to say these are characters, of course, because they are rates. I'm going to make this quite flexible, 1 to 10 max, and I'm going to just kind of tag this to a particular group so I can help as part of my claim detailed group, and I'm going to hit save here. And I'm going to show you, but this is basically the creation of an attribute in our platform. There's no limitation. I can create several different attributes as I wish to. So I have a new one called premium rates. I can show you that right there. There you go. Let's come up here. And let's do what we have. Maybe sometimes you have add-ons as part of a particular insurance policy, right? So add-ons here. And this again, oops. I'm going to make it as a text box area. But as you can see, there are several different options. I can do date pickers, drop downs, dynamic fields. I have a lot of flexibility with this platform. And again, I'm going to make this a number here. Again, I'm going to say it's 10. So this might be part of your policy that you may have certain add-ons that you can add to your insurance claim. And I'm going to tag it to a claim detail. And I'm just going to hit save here. So now I have two attributes, one add-on, one premium rates. But of course, I need to do some sort of computation to that. And that's where smart contracts come into play. So I'm going to click on this tab here called expressions. And this is where now I can start building a smart contract. And you can see I have a few already there, but let's use the ones that I just talked about. So let's say what I'm going to is my claim. I want to compute that claim, and I'm going to make this very easy just to start off with. But you can see I have various amount of mathematical formulas, so addition, subtraction, so on and so on. I even have the ability to look up to a table. So if you have data stored, for example, I was talking about IoT. Now I need to go to certain IoT tables to grab the data to bring it into the smart contract. I can do that from this platform, and I can show you that in a second. I can even get quite sophisticated by putting if statements and code as well. So there was one question about, well, how can non-developers do it? Well, developers and non-developers can use basically DL Asset Tracker to create a smart contract. But let's do a very basic one just to start off with by doing an addition. And as I noted to you, I have attributes that I created. So let's go get my rate. I gotta put the right name here. Add-ons first. And what I want to do is add two values together to create an attribute. Right? And the whole idea here is to create my invoice, for example. Oops. And as you can see, I can add multiple as I just quickly did, or I can go ahead and I can just X out of that if I wish to as well. There we go. And what I'm going to do is just grab an attribute here. And as you can see, I have my full list of attributes. Now, of course, not every attribute is going to be here. It really depends on how you define the attribute in the previous screen. So you can see, for example, rate's not coming up here because probably I didn't define it in a way that I can use it for smart contracts. I can go back and I can change that real quickly. But let's say, for example, I'm just the deductible charge or stored deductible charge. I can go ahead and just save this, and I've essentially now created a smart contract, and now I can use this logic in terms of now my end goal from a business perspective. If we were to be creating, let's say, an invoice, or sending it over to a particular individual to say that this is the amount for your claim. And I can go ahead and you can see I have that here as well. But I can get far more sophisticated with my smart contracts. Meaning that, let's say if I want to do a grand total. And again, I'm going to hit add here, but as you can see, I can also use not just attributes, but I can use expressions. So I can use smart contracts within smart contracts. So say, for example, when would I do that? I want to go and I want to look up a certain rate, or I want to go look up a particular individual because this individual may have a preferred rate, whatever the case may be. I can go ahead and I can put an expression in here, and very much so, as you can see, I would get a drop down full of my existing expressions. You can see my claim one there as well. But I can create an expression to say, go look at a table, go find Shaylin and find his particular rate in that table. And now use that rate, that specific preferred rate for him, add that plus maybe his deductible, and therefore create a grand total for him. So I can get quite sophisticated with my expressions, or what I can do is I can even take constant values. So I may say, and I might just put like, let's say 100 here. So I can go ahead and I can basically, let me put an attribute instead of an expression here. Sorry, I'll add that out, put an attribute. And let's say I want to say my invoice subtotal. So I have my invoice subtotal, I'm going to add 100 to it. I can put constant values here if I wish to as well. And every time I'm doing this and I'm hitting save here, I'm essentially creating logic in the platform and I'm creating my smart contracts. Now I'm showing you from a very simple perspective, but as I mentioned, for example, we even have lookups. So let's do that. Let me go ahead and just null these ones out and go ahead and look up. And as you can see, I can even define the table in my platform here, which you can see on the left-hand side here, it's a bit grayed out, is my table, which would be my static data. And I can even select key columns as well. I don't have any tables set up, but I'm going to show you in the Walmart example exactly how we did this as well. And finally, let me show you a really quick one. I'm going to X out of this. And what I can do is I can show you some code as well. Now, typically we do use it, we don't use it. It really depends on the use case and what you want to drive from it, but we've made it very easy. So say, for example, let's look at this one in particular. So I can just put the pencil button here. You can see I can get quite sophisticated with my coding as well. And this is copy and paste. But as you can see, now if I want to bring my Java script in here, I can do so. And again, it's copy and paste. And if I hit update, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to change this contract. But basically, therefore, I would be creating logic and a smart contract in a platform. So this is a very simple case, but let's go to what we did with Walmart. So let me quickly log in here and grab that use case here. Okay. So again, what I'm going to do is look into the first asset category here. And as you can see, for example, right off the bat, there's 327 attributes. This is actually a narrowed down version of it. There's actually far more attributes for them. But if I'm going to click on my expressions here, what you'll see is I have 421 expressions that are happening for this particular solution. And like I said, this is a little bit of a narrowed down one as well. So it can get quite sophisticated in our platform. And like I mentioned to you, everything can be done through the front end. Everything can be done through scripting as well. So we're quite flexible in terms of how to add smart contracts, but this is where it becomes very key, because when it's a business stakeholder and their vendor, their supplier, their business partner, whomever is external, internal, what's happening is that as these contracts are being created, they're being agreed upon. And therefore the system will execute based on this agreement. Right. So let's say, for example, I already showed you the coding, but let's say, let's do a lookup here. So I can actually just filter out, let's do lookups. Okay, so this is a pretty straightforward one, looking up a billing country here. So as I mentioned, I have a table here called the carrier information, country, and I have a unique identifier where I said it's called SCAC. So this is basically an attribute, and I'm basically saying when this is equal to WMC. So this is a particular contract to say that when the country has a particular primary key in that table, and it's equal to a set value, to use this smart contract. So this is an example of a lookup, but we can go far more sophisticated. So for example, let's go into now cities. So again, what I'm saying is that, well, for this one particular is that we're making it the same as well. But now what I can do is I can further break it down and get even more granular. I can even say, for example, I have the countries, I have the cities. I can go into, billing areas, phone numbers. These are just some examples of what we're doing in terms of looking up information. Even when we look up tax rates, as we know, tax rates typically don't change too much, but fuel rates do. And I mentioned that in that slide there. So what we can do is go to a table and fetch fuel rates, which do change frequently. And therefore, we're basically guaranteeing that we're using the most up-to-date information. And there's no manual intervention here. It's not that someone has to come and input that fuel information. This data is flowing directly into a table, and a contract is going to pick that information up and then using it for the business purpose. In this case was to create a immutable invoice. Finally, what I want to show you is where we can use if statements as well. So if statements gets quite interesting. So whether we need code or if we want to build an if statement, and we talked a little bit, one of the questions was, how can we make this business friendly? Well, let's go look in terms of, again, let's keep on the same theme of country here. If I go in and I edit this, you can see I can build this directly from the platform. And again, it's drag and drop using the same examples of the attributes that we've defined and built within the platform as well. And you can use even smart contracts. So basically smart contracts within your smart contracts in an if statement as well. So what this is telling me is that go and look for a particular billing country. And if I'm getting an error, then go to a particular table and grab that. Let me go back. And just to show you, we talked a little bit about accessorial costs, which is basically unexpected costs that occurred during the shipment. Well, I can go ahead and I can even view how I get to there through an if statement as well, right? So basically, and you can even say like when a constant is matching, then to take a particular aspect and basically go to a different attribute and find that does this particular value equal something else as well. So point is that, as you can see, it's quite user-friendly. You can drag and drop. I can continue to build this if statement if I wish to by just clicking on this plus button. And there you go. I have another line here and I can continue to do so. And I can edit it as well. But what happens is that once this is created and it's saved in the platform, it becomes a contract which is agreed upon between 2, 3, 4 users, whatever it may be, and therefore then it can be implemented in the platform and then utilized. And at any time, if there's any changes to it, and that's one of the key things, is that the platform will let all the impacted users know, hey, there's been a change to it. Do we agree to this change? Yes, we do. Okay, we can go forward with this. And this is how we're using smart contracts right now to build our business solutions. With that, I'm going to conclude the demonstration, and we can navigate to any questions anyone may have on the call, or what we can do is if you post your questions, we're more than happy to answer them. Sorry.
Hi. My question is directed to both of you. What do you think are the key advantages that smart contracts provide over the traditional ones? Thank you.
Yeah, as I think we covered in the presentation also, but even traditionally, people have been, organization has been using pen and paper or some digital signature to execute the contract. So first part is, it's not foolproof, it's not fraud proof. Still, forgery can happen, and we see it all around us. Digital signature, as I said, has been a good tool, but it's not 100% foolproof. But digital signature on blockchain is 100% foolproof. Well, I'll say 99.9999% like foolproof, because it's not something which is just getting recorded on a regular system. There's a huge, big cryptography algorithm is there, where this concept of private and public keys are there. So, okay, let me put it this way. The way banks secure your money, and bank grade security is considered one of the best. Blockchain uses not probably, I think like accurately, 500 times more powerful cryptography to secure the signature using which you sign an agreement. That's one part of it. Second part of it is the terms of the contract. You can sign whatever contract you want, but how many of them basically gets followed? For example, in case of Walmart, I'll give you a very simple example, where Walmart wants that there should be a delay of 48 hours before carriers submit the invoice. That's the part of the contract which they used to have. Before our system, was it getting followed? Answer was no, because people forget, like people miss it, right? But now, because of our system, that particular term of the contract is part of the smart contract, and it doesn't even allow carriers to submit an invoice for the first 48 hours. So these are the benefit what smart contract with the help of blockchain brings to this world, which is just not possible. You cannot do it on any other system. It's just technically not possible.
We have a question in the chat. I see Neeraj, you answered a few already. Is it more difficult and or costly to implement smart contracts versus traditional contracts?
Yeah, it's no. It's actually more costly to do it traditionally, because you're going to the lawyers. And in North America, I don't have to say how costly the lawyers are. Like they charge you in per hours, and that also there are lots of reasons of fraud can happen, and it's a pretty messy process. So the answer is no. It's not at all costly. It's much cheaper, and more than the cheaper, it's much faster. So think of, again, like we'll keep on using the example of Walmart, because that's the case study which is out. In this case, as we speak, Walmart is able to onboard their carriers in no time. There are more than, I think, 65 or more carriers, and Walmart is able to do business much faster. And it was not possible before, because if you go the traditional way, costly is one thing, there are real dollars involved, but more than that, it's like super time consuming. And the time, and now basically you have, you're not spending money or time in signing an agreement, you are spending more time in doing business. You are not spending time in auditing and verifying that, okay, has every transaction followed the rules or not. I think this one I'll let Shailin you answer. Other than freight example you provided, which other business type industry do you see smart contract being applied within?
So virtually everything. I mean, we talked a little bit about freight, like Neeraj, you mentioned that because that's the use case out there, but that's not the only industry we're working within. We're working in the mining industry right now, and the tracking of concentrate from mines and various aspects of it, whether it be weight, moisture, how to use that information to show the validity of contracts within the platform to show are mines working or suppliers working under correct conditions as well. There's no child labor, etc., like that as well, which is very, very important. But it actually even flows all the way down to ESG, being able to include, and right now we're doing scope 1 and scope 2, but we're going to expand that in terms of now tracking how much GHG emission is being exerted out and essentially polluting the earth, which is, I think, everyone's number one concern nowadays as well. So these are just a few of the use cases. We're also looking in terms of the vaccine distribution as well. We're working in terms of creation of schedules for the delivery of goods to stores. So essentially smart contracts can be used everywhere. And as I showed in the platform, it really depends on what are you trying to drive from a business perspective of it. And one other thing is that when I showed it, you may think, okay, this is looking very much in terms of a mathematical aspect of it, of calculation of something, but that's not actually, that's just one application of it. Whether you want to trigger notifications, flags, alerts, etc., that can all be built upon smart contracts.
Yeah, next question is, are these smart contracts as legally binding as traditional contract? The answer is yes. Think of this way, people use DocuSign or similar solution every day, which is legally signed. And even as there have been certain cases in Europe where yes, anything which goes on top of blockchain, it's more like, see, when we say legally binding, what can be legal binded? Like anything which can be proven in the court of law, that is legally binded. Like, that's what, how the means, well, I'm not a lawyer, but like, with my limited understanding, anything which can be proven. Yes, anything which you do on blockchain is immutable. There is no way it can be reversed. And yes, it can be proven in the court of law. And yes, it is legally binding.
Next one, can these also be incorporated for media contracts as well?
So answer is yes. Any type of contracts, any type of agreement between two or more parties can be digitally done. It's like in today's world, there's a digital equivalent of everything, right? There's a digital, like even in the, like for example, arts, right? So I see this NFTs has come, right? There's a digital equivalent which we call like digital twin. So whatever we are doing there, it is a digital twin of the real contract. So any type of contract, any type of agreement, any type of business partnership which has to exist between the parties can be digitally transferred on top of the blockchain. Next is, what potential watchouts or pitfalls are there to smart contract which potential users should be aware of? Really good question. The technology, right? And this is what I'll say, more of my experience. I've been in the space since 2011, so I'm seeing a lot. Smart contract is a very powerful tool, extremely powerful tool. But anything when it is powerful, like it can help you from that's one side of the coin, it can also create problems. So think of this way, that suppose the terms of the smart contract itself is wrong. So what will happen, right? Like, then you are doing business and smart contract will never be able to tell you, like smart contract is governing the transaction between the business based on those wrong terms. So it's very important the way you are writing the smart contract. The person who is designing, developing the smart contract is experienced, someone who has already done it. It is not at all advisable for any company or enterprises to start developing smart contract from scratch. For example, Today, if you want to develop a website, you don't start coding from HTML. If you try to do it, one, it is time consuming. Second, there is a lot of there are a lot of things which can go wrong. Similar rules apply for smart contract. It's not advisable to go for any enterprises to go and start working with a development company. Also, I've heard many companies or big enterprises, they say that they have hired blockchain developers. First of all, there is no concept of blockchain developers. There are no blockchain developers. Because blockchain is not one technology, it's a mixture of technology. So there are no blockchain developers. And you cannot just hire blockchain developers or equivalent people to write a smart contract. If you're doing, definitely things will go wrong. And that's the reason why you keep on hearing so many blockchain projects are failing. Because when you're writing a smart contract, you're writing at a very low level, and there are lots of reasons where things can go wrong. What enterprises needs today is a platform, some sort of a low code platform which automates lots of work what the developers do. Basically, enterprises needs automation, right? So what is advisable is, yes, smart contract one side is very powerful, but it can be very dangerous for your business if it is not done properly. Therefore, it's highly advisable, do not start writing or developing smart contract from scratch. Use platform like DLS Track, which is taking care of lot of your designing development behind the scene, so that you don't make those mistakes. And especially like product like DLS Track, and these are just, or probably one of the few, or like the only one which is there, which has been there in production since last 4 years, more than 4 years actually, and has moved more than $1 billion on the platform. So that's the maturity what is lacking in the market. And this is where, if enterprises goes to some development company, project fails, and then they blame blockchain. So it's not the blockchain which is at fault, it's the companies who are working on a blockchain is at fault.
So Neeraj and Shalin, one last question I had it from my end. So when we speak about blockchain, I'm speaking about Ethereum specifically. So when we write a smart contract, and if we wanted to do any changes on the smart contract, there is a 51% rule of it, which is like all the community has to come back and approve to change that thing. But for enterprises which is evolving, and there might be changes very frequently, in that case, how the smart contract changes can be or amendments can be done?
Really good question. So see, there are two, you use the word change and you said 51% rule. Okay, so there are two, those are two different things. If you designed a smart contract properly, you can change it. Where that 51% rule comes, when you have to reverse it, not to change it. So reversing and changing are two different things. So community needs to come together when they have to reverse any transaction, when they have to go back in time and reverse it, and that's where the community needs to come together. Now so that's one part, right? Reversing, that's where 51% rule comes in, that's where the community needs to come in. Now let's come to the other part, changing the smart contract. And this is what I've been explaining to people since last 10 years. Changing to smart contract is possible. I have written a paper which we have also have a patent. There is an architecture called parent and child architecture, which you can go and see on my LinkedIn. The problem is smart contract writers, and sorry for my language, but I'll say is because I'm frustrated, like smart contract developers, most of them are dumb. They do not know how to write smart contract, and what they do is they simply write it and they deploy it. No, that's not the way. There's an architecture of the smart contract, as Shalin said. Like what you were saying, it's not that we deploy just one contract. There's a way by which smart contract needs to get deployed. Like any IT software, right? There's an architecture. So if someone is just writing a simple contract and deploying it, yes, nothing can be changed. It's done. It's done and dusted. But there are various architectures available. One of them which we follow, and like as I said, I've written that paper on which is there on LinkedIn years ago, which is called parent and child architecture. So if you follow the right architecture, changes to the contract, smart contract, whether it is on Ethereum, whether it is on Fabric, whether it is on Coda, is possible. It's just that when you make a changes, those changes also become part of the audit log, so that everyone will know that things got changed. But yes, the changes are 100% possible in a smart contract.
Thanks, Neeraj. Thanks for the explanation.
I think there's one more question.
Mhm.
In today's world, smart means AI enabled, like smart home solutions, smart vehicle, which are making lives better. How can we integrate AI or condition these smart contract to avoid potential pitfall and wrongly executed physical real world? Okay. So again, really interesting question. And I'm not sure. I think we have done it or a webinar, or we were about to do a webinar on this. Uh, it will take me a few minutes to answer this thing. So AI, always people ask like, can we bring AI and blockchain together, and like, how can it work together? Okay, so I need to take a step back. What blockchain actually does, right? Blockchain is an amazing data management tool, right? All these tools, and not only blockchain, AI, big data, right? What are all these? These are at the core of it, these are data management tools. But they can manage data at a different life cycle. Now, what AI is a type of front-end technology. And what I mean by front-end is it can help you in data collection, right? So what does AI do? They are through certain algorithms using video cameras, it can help you in data cleansing so that whatever data is collected is clean, right? That, it can do certain validations, it can cross check. So for example, you can scan your invoices, right? You can do lots of stuff as it is written in the question. AI is a front-end technology. It is a data collection technology which will help you to collect the data. But that is one part of it, that is data collection. People think they will enable AI that will solve all the problem. No. AI, again I'm repeating, is a data collection technology. It can help you in collecting clean data. But what needs to be done once it is collected? After collected, it needs to go to a data management engine, to a data collection. It needs to be managed somewhere, right? And that's what blockchain can do. And it does efficiently. Like, with Walmart, we are storing terabytes, not just with Walmart, there are other clients, right? With the mining and tech and few others, we are storing terabytes of data, right? And we are able to manage it efficiently. So your thing is that can they both connect it together? Yes. Have we done it? Yes. Is it in production? Yes. And why it is right? It's not about merging those two technology. Those AI and blockchain are two separate technology. They need to talk with each other, right? They will not ever get embedded, because AI does data collection, data cleansing. Blockchain does data management, reporting those. So those two technologies can be used together, but they do different part of data management. But yeah, together they can do magic, and that's how we have been solving bunch of issues which was otherwise was not possible to solve before AI and blockchain. But yeah, AI alone cannot solve the problem. Like, companies have been investing so much. Similarly, like IoT alone cannot solve the problem, because another part is, right, we have seen clients which are adopting tons of GPS technologies like sensors and this, but they forget, okay, again, IoT is a data collection, but what you will do after the data collected, you need to manage that data. And we are seeing this all across the globe, that companies are invested millions and millions on GPS, and then it's just data is just sitting there somewhere in the cloud. What to do with that data? And that's where that data management, that's what blockchain can do it. So together, these technologies, yes, they work together, but people forget the backend technology, that is the blockchain, that you need a data management tool after you have collected the data. Sorry, that was a bit longer answer, but I thought it's important to explain that part.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions. Doesn't look like. Okay, I think that's it. I think we scheduled 8 more minutes anyway. So if there's no other questions, I mean, of course, we will publish this video as well. And if you have any questions at any time, you can reach out. You can contact TLT Labs, and we're more than happy to have any conversations on smart contracts. And again, going into more detail about how we're using it today, but also how our platform uses it as well.
All right.
Right.
Again, thank you so much for hearing us, and we will see you again next month with some other interesting topic. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take care.